welcome to Ask Away Wednesday. I'm James Beecham from Alter. We are here to answer some of your top questions around data security and data governance. We're joined this Wednesday by a very special guest, Alter board member and security field CTO of Snowflake, Jonathan Sander. Hello, Jonathan. Thank you for joining us for this episode. The question today is, what is security tech debt in a data pipeline? And this is something that I think has come up a lot more frequently in the past 6 months or so than in the past year. And I think it's the realization that folks either DIY some of their data security or data governance practices in their very early days of migrations up to Snowflake in the cloud. And they just continue to swipe that DIY credit card either by ignoring certain data types and just saying, hey, we're not even going to try to move those up, or by kind of building up a little house of cards to put those SSNs or those emails on there. And that house of cards comes crashing down when the CDO is pounding the table saying, why are my customer information not in Snowflake yet? And that poor data engineer is in the back of the room and they know the answer, but they're trying to figure out how they're going to call JG Wentworth and consolidate all of that security technical debt and try to find one easy solution there. But does that make sense to you, Jonathan? Have you seen security technical debt in pipelines before?
Pretty much every day, right? So, as you know, what I do on a day-to-day basis is just talk to customers about security in the Snowflake platform. And I see three things, right? First, you see a lot of lift and shift. And so people just do for Snowflake what they have done previously on-prem,
right.
Or maybe in, earlier cloud platforms. But what that often means is they're bringing, let's say, interesting practices that they may have used when they were in what they felt was their protected inner network bubble.
Right. Yep.
And they bring that to the cloud, and it really wasn't a great idea on-prem either, but on-prem, they at least had perhaps a false sense of security about
right.
it. And when they bring it into the cloud, you mentioned the CDO. Well, the CISO has something more to say about that because, wisely, a lot of CISOs are using the shift to cloud as a mechanism to put in place better policy and more requirements.
Right.
But, Snowflake has thrived as shadow IT. And so often the CISO only gets to know what's happening sort of after something has been put in place, after it has been lifted and shifted.
Right.
And so you end up with that same problem. Second thing I see, even where customers might want to do better, the challenge is that a lot of tooling in the world of data pipelines that people use don't themselves build in good practices. And so you're stuck with, explicit credentials or no way to really apply any kind of encryption or other security to the data as it's transiting or as it lands.
Yeah.
And so the limitations of the tooling just simply are the problem in those cases. And that's a hard one to solve, especially when you have a customer who's trying to be diligent, right, and do these things.
Especially if you've made those investments already, so it'd be really hard to rip those things out. Yep.
It's a rewinding function, and that's always difficult, right? And the third thing I think is connected to what you were saying earlier, which is they might just look at this classification of data and say, pass. Right. Yeah. And they kick the can down and they basically say, no, those workloads we'll do when we find a solution to these problems, which, takes time and effort to things that are rare and in short supply. Right.
Yeah. Those make perfect sense. I think that second answer is one that security has been kind of plagued with, forever, whether it's identity security, data security, cloud security, endpoint, is the tooling decisions that you make end up being very important. And so I think integration is a major key for that.
Yep.
Alrighty, well, thank you, Jonathan. Hope that answered the question out there. Feel free to submit some questions below and we'll get to them here in future episodes. Thank you very much.